I think my prediction is Gavin Newsom with that appearance actually tanked his chances. I think you're going to see people by the summer, especially as it all goes to hell, because it's going to go to hell by April, May. I think that anyone who's complicit will be seen as one of those white moderates that MLK warned about, and what people will support, in my opinion.
I wanted to get your thoughts on some news earlier today, somewhat controversial when it involves Gavin Newsom. So Gavin Newsom met with Charlie Kirk. I think we both could agree Charlie Kirk is a despicable human being.
Sure.
He's a white supremacist sympathizer, and he's just an awful person, and uneducated too. I'll throw that one in there too. So I agree with Gavin Newsom and Charlie Kirk on this specific point, though. Yes, I don't believe that if you're a born man, transition to a woman, you probably shouldn't be competing with women on the playing field. And I said that on Piers Morgan yesterday, even though I think that it's not a top 5 or a top 10 issue, and MAGA Republicans are obsessed with this issue. But what do you make of Gavin Newsom meeting with Charlie Kirk, putting out pictures and stuff, and showing some common ground with a guy like that? How does that make you feel? Are you okay with that?
No. So my take on this, and I was thinking about writing a Substack article right after I finished your program, is some Democrats need to be launched into the sun, figuratively. They need to retire. And I'll give you an example. Right before that State of the Soviet Union, Senator Warner of Virginia, I don't know if you caught that clip of him. He goes on Fox and says, well, civility, he's the president, so I guess I got to go. And then he praises Donald Trump on his immigration. I'm like, you told me that this man is a threat. You called him a fascist. You said that this man is authoritarian, and now you're normalizing him and praising him. Now, I don't know if you saw the MSNBC clip with Warner the day after, where he goes, yeah, I made a mistake. Whoopsie. Secondly, you had Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic leader, telling Democrats to respond in a tame way. And so as 77-year-old Al Green showed some moxie and lifted up his cane and talked about saving Medicare and Medicaid, all these other Democrats with these tiny little ping pong paddles, and they waved it around. And as of today, 10 Democrats joined Republicans in censuring Al Green. Like you mentioned on Pierre's show, where was the censoring of Marjorie Taylor Greene? Where was the censoring of Lauren Boebert? Nothing. And so I see this, and I see this strategy of Democratic leadership and centrists and the money. If we move to the right on certain issues, if we concede, then maybe they'll love us. And this is what I want to remind them. I've been in this game for a while too. Look at this hair. I've been following this movement. They'll never love you. They think you're pedophiles. They think you're scum. They think you're atheist. They think you're godless. The only thing that will happen is the Overton window will shift to the right. The center will shift to the right. You'll keep conceding on all these issues. You've already conceded on immigrants. Tom Homan, the border czar, is perfectly fine with deporting citizen children of undocumented immigrants. Just wait. You're going to have some Democrats say, that's fine. Lake and Riley Act, disgusting. Majority, not a majority, but 40 plus Democrats sign on for the Lake and Riley Act. For those who don't remember, now immigrants who are simply charged with a crime like shoplifting, see ya, a cynical manipulation. And so what Republicans are going to do, they're not stupid. They're like, oh, we got you on trans athletes. We got you on Latinx. We got you on immigrants. Okay, let's get you on, what do you say about gay marriage? A lot of Americans, what do we say about these Muslims? How about these Haitians, right? What about Palestine, Israel, Gaza? What about the EU? What about Ukrainians? And then all these Democrats, like dogs, think that if they chase this like bell to the center, this mythical center, which no longer exists, Brian, that somehow Republican voters who have rejected them for 10 years will somehow win them over. Has it worked, Brian? I'll give you another example. Slotkin, in her response after the State of the Soviet Union, she praises Reagan. She mentions Reagan like 10 times. And I'm like, who cares? Reagan was terrible, right? The bear hugging of Liz Cheney. I'm glad you got Liz Cheney. You want to expand the pie. But the bear hugging of Liz Cheney, Brian, to the exclusion of your own base. The fact that you would have a Liz Cheney and you wouldn't even have a Palestinian or even a transgender activist speak at the DNC. Did it help you? And so this is where I'm saying, Brian, is I think my prediction is Gavin Newsom with that appearance actually tanked his chances. I think you're going to see people by the summer, especially as it all goes to hell, because it's going to go to hell by April, May. I think that anyone who's complicit will be seen as one of those white moderates that MLK warned about, and what people will support, in my opinion, because I'm old enough. I remember the same thing happened after 9/11. George W. Bush was loved. I was always against it. I was on the right side of history. Thank you. I tried to bring some receipts. Remember what happened in 2006, Brian?
Sure.
I think the
Absolutely.
same thing's going to happen here.
So I think you're right. A lot to dissect there. And I agree with just about everything you just said. I think a lot of these Democrats, quite frankly, are cowards.
Yes.
And I think they would. And I said this on Pierce yesterday. I feel like they would have been better off by either doing one of two things. And you tell me if you agree, Wajahat. So, number one, don't show up to the speech at all. I think that was option number one. Just don't show up. Or number two, disrupt in some way, shape, or form, leave in the middle. But don't just sit there with that stupid smirk on your face, like that Michael Knowles smirk that we see all the time. Don't just sit there and put up your stupid ping pong paddles or bingo cards or whatever the hell that is.
The Michael Knowles smirk.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. But like, I felt like the Democrats missed on a huge opportunity to make a statement. Just don't show up. Or if you're going to show up, disrupt a little bit.
Brian, you might be a business major or have an MBA. Even I know tariffs are taxes that are paid by the American consumer. So just today, like about an hour ago, I'm sure you saw the news. Yep. Trump is responding with 2% tariff on China.
104. Yep.
104. Don't we buy stuff that is made, I don't know, in China?
Yeah.
And, we don't manufacture, because we buy a lot of stuff. We were a wealthy country post-World War II. The entire global economic landscape has changed when unfortunately Donald Trump lives in the 1930s. So, Brian, can you please tell me, because I'm a simple man, an English major, who drives a Honda Odyssey minivan, if there's 104% tariffs on China, which sells us stuff that we need, cars, goods, electronics, shoes, what will happen to the American consumer and the business owner?
Boy, really hard to spin a lie like the way Karoline Leavitt in the White House does it. But I tend to think that the American consumer, like people like you and I, are the ones that are going to bear the brunt of this, and it's going to kill our economy. I think most logical people with an IQ over 20 would answer the question in that way.
Yeah. So $6,000 for an iPhone, $4,500 for PS5.
Right.
$370 for a pair of shoes. This, what's so painful is that, I said this on Blue Sky on Twitter, and I have to share this. I read comic books. I'm a fan. Yep. I'm a child. If I'm a superhero, if I get like beaten up by Lex Luthor or Dr. Doom or Brainiac, you live to fight another day. Respect, supervillain. This is like being defeated by Stiltman. Like the dumbest people on earth are killing us in Trump's murder-suicide of the economy. And it didn't have to be this way, Brian. It's just like, it's just so painful that we're being done in by the world's dumbest people.
So I tend to agree with you. Before I get back to the tariffs, you mentioned cosplay. What do you make of Kristi Noem, speaking of cosplay, going across, all over the world, decked out in her hair extensions and her makeup, taking these photo ops everywhere, whether it be at the El Salvador prison or wearing the ICE gear? I'm just curious, what do you make of this cosplaying on the American dollar and Kristi Noem and how ridiculous she looks?
Oh, and you forgot her $60,000 watch, her gaudy $60,000 Rolex. I wish you would have talked to me. I would have given her watch advice and not tell her to waste $60,000 on that watch. But the cruelty, the cosplay, I'm glad you focus on cosplay. It's very important. I'm sure you've read these books. Jesus and John Wayne. The myth that the storytelling myth. It's very key. Andrew Breitbart said that politics is downstream from culture. Look at the two actors that Republicans loved. Before Donald Trump, it was Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan, folks, was an actor, a Hollywood actor who parlayed that into this public image, right, of the politician. And he was, him and John Wayne, mythic figures, which, by the way, fictional figures, because John Wayne played a cowboy. John Wayne, folks, was a failed surfer who got injured, was aimless, then became an actor, and then performed, Brian, this role of this rugged, old school, masculine male. And so many Americans and American men who were part of this right-wing culture, like, why can't men be like Clint Eastwood and you know, Gary Cooper from High Noon, all fictional movies. Donald Trump now, his narrative, a narrative. This is very important. The only reason why Donald Trump is president is because of a BS narrative rooted in fiction, cosplaying as a tough guy, and also, folks, cosplaying as a master of the art of the deal. That BS story, Art of the Deal, he promoted. He used to come on TV shows. When you and I were kids, we saw him in Home Alone 2. It was The Apprentice that gave him a reboot. He came in and said, "You're fired." And people had this image that this man is this maestro, a tycoon, and he will come in and save this economy. And the reality, Brian, is he cosplayed as a successful businessman because he has been bankrupted 6 times, including 2 casinos. Kristi Noem cosplays as this tough, ICE agent sitting there with her $60,000 Rolex watch, and now with the Libs of TikTok lady. You saw that photo? Libs of TikTok. Yeah, Libs of TikTok lady with an ice jacket with a fake ICE badge. I'm picking up the illegals. It's all BS, Brian.
Let's talk a little bit, Wajahat, about Karoline Leavitt, if I may. She was asked today about, these people that did not get, many of them did not get due process, particularly some that were sent to this El Salvador prison. And she responded by saying, well, it's a hobbyist petition, and she doesn't even know what that is. That's literally due process. If you look at the definition of it, it's literally due process. And she says that today in a White House press briefing. How stupid is this woman?
Affirmative action for the world's most mediocre dumb whites. And I love the whites, but this is like the world's worst whites. Pete Hegseth, Karoline Leavitt, Kristi Noem, RFK Jr. The cruelty of it. And also, Brian, I don't know if you heard, she reiterated what Trump said on Air Force One, that they're open now to sending American citizens to a foreign gulag. So Donald Trump over the weekend, folks, said that he's open to sending American citizens to an El Salvador prison. And folks, I don't know if you know this, but Nayib Bukele, the crypto bro fascist leader of El Salvador, is being paid $6 million of our taxpayer dollars to, quote unquote, house these mostly innocent men. So about 60 Minutes did this really just devastating report where 3 plane loads of brown immigrants, allegedly Venezuelan gang members, went to El Salvador. They're in this El Salvador torture prison right now without due process. They said of these, I think it was 238 men, 70%, folks, 70%, no criminal charges. 27% basically had non-criminal offense, like non-violent offenses, excuse me. So added up, the United States of America sent 3 plane loads of 200 plus men, overwhelmingly innocent, without due process, including a father right here in Maryland who was given withholding of removal, to be sent to their doom. This is what's happening. You just have to sit with that for a second, Brian.
It's sick. It's absolutely sickening. And it is interesting, isn't it? Because today you hear a lot of people in the MAGA world saying the Dow is up 1,000 points. Okay, well, let's take a look at where the Dow was at on day one when Trump took over. It's kind of like the argument with eggs, right? I'll tell people, well, egg prices are up. And they're like, no, it's not. Egg prices are down. Oh, really? Since when? The last 2 weeks. But egg prices are still up $3 since Trump took office in day one. And same with the economy.
There you go.